first of all, let's see what he spoke on, because he and the chief minister had spoken on the viral video of two women, Wi-Fi cookie women, who were paraded naked and who were stripped and paraded naked. Now, till these women had filed an FIR on May 18th. Yet the chief minister said he knew nothing about it. And the prime minister gave a statement saying he was angry and he was anguished by this viral, and any country would be ashamed of such a thing. But then he went on not to talk about the situation in Manipur, and that was the context in which that horrendous incident happened. But he generally went on to say this happens in Chhattisgarh and Uttar Pradesh, and not in Uttar Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan, and named all the Congress-ruled states. Now, it does happen everywhere. And we have a patriarchal society where rape is used for political purposes. But he gave nothing on the context of Manipur. Chief Minister also said he knew nothing about it, and he just made a statement saying he would ask for punishment on death penalty for those accused. Now, this is a very strange situation where the Chief Minister also has nothing to say. Today, or I think it was today, that the women, which are called the Mera Paibis or the Imas or mothers of Manipur, the Meitei community, has asked for the Assam Rifles or security forces to be withdrawn, because they are saying that in the name of looking for those people who were responsible for this sexual assault on those two women, they are going from house to house and causing harassment. Now, this whole situation it requires us to look deeper into what is this role that these women are playing. Why are they stopping Assam Rifles from conducting house-to-house search? Why are Assam Rifles conducting? They are not police; they are paramilitary. They should be guarding our borders. But why are they doing this house-to-house search? So I think a lot of times the people who are not conversant with the history and with the way that with the politics of Manipur and Northeast in general may not understand. So let me first of all talk about this issue, because people are confused. Why are women stopping? Meitei women stopping this? Why are they asking for Assam Rifles or army not to conduct searches for the accused? So let's look at it first of all. What actually happened? And I think that actually explains a lot of things which are happening in Manipur. First of all, this preceding this was a fake video in which a Meitei woman was shown to have been raped by cookies. It was a fake video. How did a fake video go from place to place? How was it being able to be shown when there was a ban on internet? That's the first question we should all be asking. So the question, I think the police and now the CBI is doing this inquiry, has to find out that why was it? It's very easy to find out the guy who made the video. Of course he is involved, he's part of the mob. But who were the people behind? Who started this fake video? With what purpose? How did it circulate when the internet ban was there? That's number one. Second, there are two versions. One, I'm told, is these women were actually in the custody of the police, and the police handed these women over, or the police was there and was unable to protect. So the question is, who were these police? The people who they were arrested are part of the mob, which they of course should be punished. But the people who are more responsible are the police who were handed over. We don't even hear of them. So this idea that the police is part of the state. And I think that shows complicity of parts of the state or the whole state in all this violence that is happening in Manipur. And not an articulation of right kind of demands on the part of the rest of the country, who is comparing this general violence on women to this particular incident. And why I say this is that rape is used as a political weapon, and police sometimes is complicit with the dominant community, whether there's zamindars in Bihar, with the police who have raped Adivasi women, or they are with upper caste men who have raped Dalit women. So in this case, the police is complicit with the dominant community for a political, for some political diabolical, some game which I don't fully understand. So complicity of the state, and in this particular case, but it's not only one case. The Indian media, which is the mainstream media, has documented at least 10 cases. So what about those cases? And what was the role of the police and the security forces in those 10 cases? There are 6,000, at least 6,000 FIRs that have been filed. And what the cookies are complaining about is a lot of time, because technically the incident took place in the valley. The FIRs are filed in the valley, where the Meiteis have the control and the police has the control. So they're not even beginning the investigation into these issues. So I think that the opposition should first find out how on earth the criminal justice system is going to be, will do its job. So that, I think, it shows the complexity of the issues, through this one incident. So now, in order to understand what the Mera Paibis is doing, Mera Paibis started off in 20th century by fighting against drugs and alcohol. They would go and search vehicles in which alcohol or drugs was done, or people were taking drugs or drinking, and they stopped that. And very effectively. So they used to patrol the streets of Manipur and Imphal, and with torches, and they had these little streets all night long. However, by the 80s, when there was insurgency in the valley, which means Meitei insurgents, then the army was sent in counter-insurgency. And that time, the valley was under Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Because it was under Armed Forces Special Powers Act, the army used to do search operations. Under the Act, the moment they pick up someone, they are supposed to hand that person over to the police. They did not hand the person over to the police. They would actually brutally torture the people on suspicion that they were insurgents. So in that tradition, the Mera Paibis would stop the army trucks and rescue a lot of these hapless people from army or Assam rifles. And that tradition now has become this turned on its head in a way that the Mera Paibis are still doing that and still stopping the army from carrying on their counter-insurgency operations. But the issue is, and which is what all human rights groups in Manipur and outside have been demanding, that Assam rifles and paramilitary forces and army should not be used for civic duties. It shouldn't be doing. This is police work. It's a crime. And if it's a crime, then the police should be involved. But the police is complicit in committing those crimes. So this has a history. And what are the Mera Paibis now protecting? At that time, they were protecting their young men. Today, they are, in their understanding, as far as I understand them, is they are protecting the Meitei identity. This is the result of identity politics. When we say Manipur, we should mean all the people living within the boundary of Manipur. But Meitei and Manipur has become synonymous. So this is what explains the Mera Paibi behavior in this context. This is why there is an old history of fighting the armed forces and stopping them from counter-insurgency operations. And there is this long history of the people being picked up when even Armed Forces Special Powers Act, even those provisions being violated. So it is that history which now is playing out in this particular way. First of all, as I said, I would make a distinction between the Indian Army and the armed forces, the paramilitary forces like Assam Rifles, which come under Home Ministry, and the police commandos. Now, everyone has their particular roles. But for the long history of insurgency and counterinsurgency, these roles have been corrupted and undermined. Why and how? First of all, army is supposed to guard the borders. The armed forces and the paramilitary is also supposed to help in insurgency areas. They may play for short times counterinsurgency. But for over a long time, everyone who knows about instead Assam Rifles or army should not be used in aid of civil power. In India, there is no provision for martial law. Yet for long periods of time, parts or whole of Manipur have been declared disturbed. So we should be very clear what the role is that they should be playing. And instead of blaming the police or the army or the armed forces, we should see the politics by which they have become corrupted. Why the criminal justice system has been undermined by this identity politics. And what do I mean by this identity politics? Let me explain in the context of army and Assam Rifles. The police has always been the local police. They have done their work. But in counterinsurgency operations, over time in Manipur, all the successive governments, including this government, have used a divide and rule policy. So in the past, there have been some Kuki elements who have been trained as Kuki commandos. They were absorbed in the Assam Rifles. They were used against the Nagas. So then if you have, at some point, the Pangal, which is the Muslims of Manipur, were used against the Meitei nationalism, Meitei insurgents. So this divide and rule policy, which has been going on, and it's sort of policy. It's a strategy or tactic. There is no policy for development of the Northeast or of Manipur. So we are seeing the chickens come home to roost actually in this case. Don't know what is happening because there are very confusing parts to this whole issue. But there are two or three things which definitely needs to be answered, which is part of what I was saying before, is that there were, I think Wire did a RTI and they found, if I'm not mistaken, some 4,000 to 5,000 gun licenses were issued before this Manipur violence started. So why were they issued? And they were primarily issued to Meiteis. So why? Second, just few days after this started, around 3,000 arms, I don't know exact numbers, some say 3,000, some say 4,000, some say 5,000 arms and large number of rounds of ammunition were taken. Now some people say they were looted from the police stations by the vigilante and the Meiteis. So these two things put together would show that there was some kind of pre-planning. Now they have to have an inquiry to explain both these issues. Was this done with or without the consent of the center is something which has to be investigated. But it is very odd that so many licenses were issued in a place where every community, every single tribe, every small community is backed by an insurgent group. There are 25 to 26 insurgent groups or militant groups in the Kukis. There are, I don't know exact number, but 6 or 8, which are the Meitei insurgents. The Pangal, which is the Muslims, have at least 3 or 4. And the Nagas, of course, have the oldest insurgents there, have at least 3 or 4 armed groups. All of them have very sophisticated arms. All of them are trained. On top of that, you have the militias. The militias are sometimes surrendered militants who are given arms by the Indian armed forces or trained by them. Plus, you have these militias as of today, which is the Meitei Dipun and the Arambai Tengol, which are supposed, and all the reports say that they were responsible for the atrocities. So now the question is that with this level of arms, when there's an ethnic conflict, plus We have reports of armored cars in one incident going and attacking a village. So where this is not to be seen in any other part of our country. Now, if you look at it in historical terms, perhaps what is truth is that Meiteis and the Nagas, which are today, different identities, who came first, I do not know. But today, that is the one kind of history, is that the Meiteis and the Nagas came first and the Kukis came later. Where did they come from? Now, first of all, the Kuki word is probably is not the right word, because we say Kuki Somi group of tribes, which are like 20, 30 tribes or clans. So these people came, and I don't think they came at one time, they came at different times. But it is true that they came from Myanmar. But in an earlier phase, so did the Nagas and Meiteis also come from outside the boundaries of present-day India. So, okay, maybe it is true, or I'm saying maybe because I personally cannot vouch for this history, but that is what is said, is that the Kukis came last. But as a lawyer, I would say, and as a citizen of India, that in 1948 or 49, once the kingdom of Manipur becomes part of the Union of India, whoever is there, the Nagas, the Kukis, the Pangas, the Marwari, who also came much, much earlier, the Sikhs, all of them are citizens of India. Nobody is an outsider. So that is, I think, a very important thing to emphasize. Now and they are equal citizens, in my understanding. They have all the same rights as everyone else. Now comes two separate problems. One is that within Manipur, the Nagas have a sedentary life, they have land, Meiteis have had land, Kukis have been given land and they have land now, but it is theirs. If it is 2-3 generations, then it is theirs. But the disputes over land are little more complicated, and I think that they can be solved within by the communities themselves if they can face the problem and deal with it. But the problem started with the Meiteis demanding that they should have indigenous status of scheduled tribe, which they called the indigenous people. They said they are indigenous people. Their apparent grievance is that they have much more population, much less land. The tribes, which is Nagas and Kukis, have large amount of land but a few population. Firstly, it should quite like that, because the areas which are occupied by the tribes is not land which they can use. It's a mountain forest land. So it cannot be used, it's for fields. Second, who are these outsiders that they are talking about? At one time, they were the Nepalis. Now they have settled there. They have come here. But a lot of Nepalis came before 1949. So that is one issue. Second issue is that there are migrants who they call Mayang, which is like you and me, who are from the mainland India. Now, I don't think that they are outsiders. I think I used to sort of think it's a bit of a joke, but it's not, because it's racist. And a lot of Meiteis, Nagas, Kukis, Pangas have shifted, and they are living in large areas in Assam. They're living in large areas in Mizoram. They're living in Delhi. So in this globalized world, I don't think we can have, people can be called outsiders and inside if they are all citizens. Having said that, the Constitution of India does have a concept of certain social schemes and protections of tribal people. Now, in 2014, the BJP government decided that they want to change the criteria of who is and who is not a tribal. And that debate was going on from 2014, and they wanted to change the criteria set out by the Madan Local Committee, which was done in 60s. That debate has been going on. And along with that debate in 2015, a bill was brought to declare the Meiteis as indigenous people. That was opposed by the Nagas and the Kukis, saying that the criteria that they are a dominant community, they have always emphasized that they are a dominant community, they are a kingdom. How can they now claim to be backward primitive tribe? So this debate had been going on. They tried to pass that law. That law was not passed. They tried to pass it in 2019, but it was not passed. So this debate has been going on. But not relating to Manipur directly, there is a move, or it seems to be a move, to declare the Christian tribals as not being allowed to have the benefits of ST. That debate is a separate debate, and whether it is linked to this particular issue, I cannot say. It may well be, it may not be. But this was the issue. So who is indigenous, who is outsider? Now, this issue has been complicated. I don't think actually it's complicated, but it has supposedly been complicated or done purposely, is because we have refugees coming from Myanmar. The Manipur is a border state. It has around 400 kilometers shared border with Myanmar. And Myanmar, the two districts which are adjacent to Manipur, have basically Chin people, Chin and Zong people. So these people have links, ethnic and historical, cultural links with the people of Mizoram and with the people, the Kuki, Chin, Zo group. So there, the refugees, when they are coming, they're escaping from brutal army rule. Now, when they are coming in, they are being stopped. Earlier, they used to come in, they used to come to Delhi, they got refugee status by UNHCR. Now, the government policy seems to have changed. They say there are no refugees in India, there are only illegal migrants. Now, from the government statistics, there are 8,000 Myanmar refugees who they call illegal migrants in Manipur. I don't think 8,000 people are a threat to Manipur or to India. If they are, they can be registered, they can be biometric, which they have said, and they can have a record. Give them humanitarian aid and give them an identity card. That way they cannot take land. But at least we are showing the tradition, keeping up the tradition in India of welcoming refugees, and they come here because they think we are a democracy. So to push them back is very cruel. And these areas from which they are coming are being bombed by Myanmar army. But then there is a complicated issue because India is selling arms to Myanmar. Now, whether those arms are also being used in these areas, we cannot say, but there are reports which say that. And this, in a border area, all these issues become very much more complex. So to have this violence and to play this divide and rule game is extremely dangerous. Because I don't even know what current efforts are, because all they're saying is they've set up various committees. They have said that we should not, there should be no violence. But the issue is, what is the demand of the Kukis? Kukis are demanding a Kuki land, a separate administration. They said they cannot live with the Meiteis. But the issue is that which part of Manipur are they claiming? If it is Tura Champhon, which is adjacent to Mizoram, because now Mizoram is supporting this demand. But the issue is that which land, because the moment they claim the other parts, though they will come in conflict with the Nagas who have stayed out of this conflict. So the question is of land again. And if they do, then the Meiteis will again say that we will not have the unity and sovereignty of Manipur, because they feel that is part of the history of the kingdom, of the old Manipuri kingdom. The Nagas have anyway asked for a separation from Manipur and to join Nagaland and Naga areas of Assam. So this conflict, unless we can face it and talk about it and see and find institutions which will be able to deal with it, we have already complicated the matter. Now Mizoram has got involved. And Assam was going to give quick notice to the Meiteis there. So Mizos gave quick notice to the Meiteis. It is this kind of identity politics is not going to help in resolving any issues. And there have been conflicts in the past in Mizoram between the Chinns and the Mizos. In Churachandpur, there have been conflicts between Paites and the Thadao Kukis. And they're very deadly conflict because of the arms. So someone has to come out and really speak about these things. But nobody can. Because if you don't take the stand of your community, if you criticize it, and that goes for the Meiteis, if any Meiteis do come out and say, stop this, they will be threatened. So this situation, which has been created over years of identity politics on the part of the political parties who also represent identities instead of politics or ideologies, on the part of counterinsurgency, on the part of lack of policy, on the part of their militants, there is no vision. And what is the vision of a Kuki land or a Naga land or a Meitei land? It's based on race and religion. It's not based on a social economic program, which today, if you see, which is very sad, that Manipur is the third poorest country state. And it was not that in the beginning. It was a rice bowl. It was very beautiful and green. And today, you see the rising level of poverty. And after this clash, the poverty would have increased much, much more, where people's livelihood has been destroyed.